A sandcar adventure crew, Conrad coming at you with a classified ad review for Monday, June 13th, 2022. If you're looking for a mid-travel car or you've got a standard travel car that you're looking to upgrade to mid-travel, this is the episode for you. Stay tuned. So we've got a live cam view from Boardmanville Trading Post up in the background right now. I've decided to change these up a little bit. These classified reviews are becoming kind of popular. People like them. So I thought, hey, you know what? Why don't I take them up a level and we will go ahead and edit them and add some music. And as some of you are aware, the Sandcar Adventure Crew mission statement is to entertain and educate. In this, whenever I do these classified ad reviews, I'm going to go through our Sandcar Buy Sell Facebook group and I'm going to find cars that are up for sale currently that I would purchase and take out to the dunes because these are the cars that I want to promote because I like them. I know a little bit about them and I want to share them. So without further ado, let's get into the classified ad review. So I'm going to leave this up and let's pull this over and blow this up. All right, let's grab this. And what do we see? So for me, first thing is it's like this, right? Sell the dream. And this is the dream right here. I have never been to the Oregon dunes, but this machine sitting in the dunes tells me I want to walk my happy little behind over here and I want to jump in that driver's seat and I want to go race around these trees. I mean, there's no trees, right, in the dunes out in Glamis or Dumont, but here, I don't know. One of these days I'll get up there. So before I go on, let's see. Sandcar Buy Sell crew member Jim Coddington has this up for sale. He is out of North Bend, Oregon. He is asking $14,000 or best offer, and I think that is a very fair price. It is a Fugitive chassis, mid-travel, 4.3 Chevrolet V6 with 275 horsepower. Bill Kenny built 091, rugged radios, etc. Well maintained and very reliable. And he's got some extras with it as well. So let me dump this out of here really quick. I really like this car. And I think if you were to purchase a mid-travel car, this is one you should seriously take a look at, especially if you're up in the Northwest. You're a Northwest Dooner, right? But on the flip side of that, if you have a standard travel car and you're going through this with me, pay attention to what I'm pointing out as far as the suspension and the shocks and so forth, because you can upgrade your car to a mid-travel because he's done everything you need to do. I think Jim Coddington did a great job on this car. Jim Coddington and his crew, whoever helped him build it, let's put it that way. But let's go ahead and get into this. Okay, so starting with this photo right here. First thing I see is big flotation front tires. That's probably a Sand Tires Unlimited Smoothie 2, which is the 680/15 on spindle mount aluminum wheels. And then if we move to the back, again, another set of Sand Tires Unlimited, but on beadlock wheels. Super important, especially when you get into the mid-travel range, because you're going to be hauling butt in this car. With a V6 and that suspension, you're really going to enjoy it. So we see the coilover suspension we've got on here. I see LED lights. We've got a top on it, fuel tank. So yes, I really like this rear bumper. This car has a lot of fabrication done to it that's not from the factory, but I'm getting a little ahead of myself. But let me mention this really quick. This is not your standard rear bumper on a Fugitive frame. And this actually looks like it was designed after the Funko Hustlers and the Big Fives. You know, when I'm looking at this, I'm saying, yeah, this is built right. So let me jump over here. Let me dump that photo. Man, it looks really windy at the dunes today. So let's do this. I'm going to pull this over and blow this up. And then I'm going to pull over a stock Fugitive, right? So when we look at this particular car and we look at this car, you can see the similarities to the cage, the rear hoops, and so on and so forth. But what do we have here? We have some extra fabrication thrown in on this chassis that makes it really stout. So if we look at a stock one, this is what most people are running out of the dunes, and these cars were built in the 70s, 80s, and 90s, right? And these are beautiful and they're a lot of fun. But if you look at how simple the design is and the location of the front beam, now let's go back to this car. Let's get rid of that. And look, here's your main rail, your bottom rail. But look at all this extra we've got in here. This lacing up here. We've got a quad stopper in the front. the triangulation in the back for these shocks. Like, somebody put a lot of work into this car, and it's really, really nice. They did a great job. So if we're looking at the front suspension on this car, I want to point out something to you that some people might not notice. So let me pull up that stalker again and look at the A-pillar up to the front beam and where it's mounted, right? So you see the hoops going down, boom, you bolt on your front beam, the VW Type 1. Very simple design. But if we jump into Coddington's car, and we blow this up, and we look at the A-pillar, look at this tube here. Your main rail goes forward, and then it dips down, because the beam would have been mounted right here. It was going to be a shorter wheelbase car. So what they've done is they've extended this front end, they've lengthened it and added some extra tubes, so it gives you some extra wheelbase, which you're definitely going to want when you've got mid-travel suspension and this much horsepower, because it's going to want to do some wheel stands, right? And you're going to want this structurally sound, which they have done. This is a really cool car. All right, so let's keep moving forward and see what we see. So there wasn't a lot of information put up on this one. I don't know what all the components are, what's in the engine, what's in the trans, the whole nine. But when I look at overall build of this car, and I'm fairly positive that it's got all the good stuff in it, right? So we've got some Douglas spindle mount heavy duty aluminum wheels, probably combo spindles. Don't hold me to that, but considering what he's done with this car, they're probably combos. Moving, we got coilovers here with the tall shock towers. Okay, and in the rear, we've got King shocks with a remote reservoir that's clamped on. That's pretty cool. Folding whip mount. Looks like an illuminated whip. And let's see, round fuel tank. Oh, and then back here, we've got the torsion bar eliminator kit, which those in the know, you've already figured this much out, but this kit right here allows you to take the torsion bar out of the housing, throw it in the garbage or donate it, and then you can use the coilover shock in the back. Why do you want to do that? Well, it's going to give you more adjustability and a way better ride than running a torsion bar setup. So this is part of the mid-travel moniker, I guess you could call it, of why you would want to do this, is you get that shock and this rear suspension setup. So whether you put 2x3s, trailing arms on it, 3x3 trailing arms, 3x5 trailing arms, whatever it is. Okay, moving on to another shot. Come here. Come on. Look who joined us. Oh, it's Ozzy. Oh, kisses. Kisses. Ozzy's our little dune dog, and he's about 5 years old. I don't remember off the top of my head, but he's a lot of fun. Aren't you, buddy? Oh, kisses. All right, get lost. Go play. Okay, so here's the passenger side of the car, and a couple of things I did notice here is this. You've got the radiator mounted low behind the seats, right? In an open cockpit car like this with no body, you're not going to run into any cooling issues on this by having that radiator placement. You know, a lot of folks, they'll mount the radiator up here in the back window so that you get that airflow going through. I am not a fan of mounting radiators high in the car, because if the core of this radiator happens to blow out or you lose hoses, it pukes hot coolant all over the passengers, drivers and passengers, right? So I prefer a lower mounted radiator. So that for me is just a safety design. And like I said, in an open car, you're not going to run into overheating issues, or you shouldn't. Now, moving on, we've got, I didn't notice till just now, Sport Tires of America. These are made by Sand Tires Unlimited. You'll see on the side here, Dune Sport. This tire was specifically requested to be made by the Funko crew. Your typical Sand Tires Unlimited has a crown, a really round crown on the top, but the Funko boys like to slide their cars, right? So they requested that Mark build a flat-topped tire, which he did. These are very similar to the old Dick CPEC tires that were available back in the day, which are, now defunct. Okay, and let's see, what else do we have on here? I see, it looks like fire extinguishers, both driver and passenger side, which is super smart. Know how to use your fire extinguishers, folks. And let's see, moving on, next picture. We're gonna go front suspension. Let's blow this up. So it's really hard to tell in this picture, but if we look at the tubing, see how it comes down here and then it comes out here? This beam on here is probably 6 to 10 inches farther forward than the car was originally designed with. So not only is this going to offer you a longer wheelbase, but it's going to push that front end out farther away from your main rails, and it's going to allow you to swing these big front tires. Because if this beam was set back those 10 inches, and it didn't have longer arms on it, your tires start to rub the frame. So we've got an extra wide beam on here with built-in shock towers. I don't know how much wider this is, but it looks like a pretty nice setup. So we've got the 4 beam clamps across the bottom. What this is going to be your main clamps, right? Like you usually see. But then it's also got tubing running to the sides here because you've got that extra width. If you come down sideways on the car, it's going to strengthen it up. I mean, look at the cross bracing here. Here's your quad stopper. Extra tall shock towers, and we said kings, right? Got, looks like longer aftermarket trailing arms. So chances are we've got some combo spindles on here, probably with a lift, even maybe like a 2-inch lift, and those aftermarket arms. This is really stout. This is a great setup. We've got a really nice rack and pinion up here. Let's see your lighting, bar, cubes, bar. So plenty of lighting on that. And that's about all I see here. Let's go ahead and move on to the next. All right, so here's our rear shot of the car again. I love this cage in the back, the cradle, beautiful skid plate. Chances are we've got some longer trailing arms on here. Dual exhaust, K&N intake. Let's see, LED tail lights, nice hard top, keep you out of the sun. Beautiful panoramic rear view mirror, definitely helps. Round fuel tank, very simple design. But the next picture we have of the engine is a little bit more up close. So let's get rid of this one. Okay, so now here's a up close shot of this engine. And I'll tell you that 4.3 Chevy V6, these are pretty much bulletproof engines. You can't go wrong with them. They work really well in a sandcar application. And look at how clean this thing is. Oh my gosh. Like you could eat off of this engine. Pride of ownership, right? Again, these are just things that I'm looking for when I'm looking to purchase a sandcar or a project, anything along those lines. We've got some Bell aluminum pulleys, some aftermarket valve covers with some breathers on there, of course the K&N. And this intake on here, let's see, he said Edelbrock high-rise intake manifold with FI Tech throttle body fuel injection. So one of the nice things about the fuel injection instead of running a carburetor is you can take this car anywhere, right? So if you're up in Oregon and you're running the coast, you're going to run it to Sand Mountain, Nevada. You're going to run it to St. Anthony. You're going to go to the dunes in the south here at Glamis or Dumont. You don't have to mess with it, right? It just automatically adjusts. That's a quality system. What does Edelbrock say? It's quality, or I wouldn't put my name on it. I don't know, something along those lines. Vic Edelbrock. I mean, we're going back to the 1950s with Edelbrock, right? So that pretty much buttons up the engine. We don't have a lot of information on it, but I can tell you this. It's a pretty stout, reliable engine. You're going to have years of trouble-free service, and you're going to have a lot of fun in it. You're not going to be the fastest at the hill, but guess what? You're always going to drive it back to camp. And then also it's mated to a, what did you say, an 091, fully built 091 transmission. Now, those are rated up to 300 horsepower, typically, when they're built right. So you should have years of trouble-free service with this car, engine transmission-wise. Just doing some simple maintenance on it and doing your checks, and you're not going to run into any issues. Let's pull in that dune view. All right, so we're going to go ahead and close this out with this dreamy shot up in the Oregon dunes. But you can't go wrong with this car. A lot of fun. Stout drivetrain. Nice long travel suspension on this. I mean, he calls it mid-travel, but for us back in the day, we would have called this long travel, you know, as this craze was starting in. Just a really nice package overall. So if you're interested in this car, hit up the Sandcar Buy Sell Crew Facebook page and you can find his information there, or post a comment on here and we'll get you in contact with him as well. Oh, and one last thing, please consider subscribing to our channel. Also head over to sandcarbysell.com and get yourself some merch. Father's Day is coming up, right? We currently have the Sandcar Buy Sell t-shirts and hats available. We will have the Sandcar's Adventures Crew merch available coming up soon. Otherwise, that's all I've got. Thank you for watching. See you in the dunes. 3, 2, 1. So this is a live view from the Boardmanville. They're starting to become part. Sandcar Adventure Crew. Would personally purchase extra bracing. Oh, kisses. Kisses.